That's more like it. I've always wanted to be a private investigator, like the ones in the movies, the down-at-heel gumshoe, fighting powers beyond his control. But all over the world, real-life investigators are investigating a very big issue. This week, I'm in search of answers about corruption and business. Keep it to yourself. For businesses around the world, corruption is a real issue. There's even an index of countries which tells you which are the most and least corrupt.
The Corruption Perceptions Index looks at public sector corruption in about 180-odd countries. And generally the ones that do better are the Scandinavian countries, Singapore, New Zealand. And generally the ones that do worse are fragile and conflict or post-conflict states like North Korea, Afghanistan, Iraq, Myanmar. Any country is susceptible to corruption, and it's a mistake to think that some countries are basically corrupt and others aren't. It's about the robustness of your systems and your defences against corruption. And when it takes root, it's very, very hard to eradicate.
And it's not a victimless crime. There is a direct cost to business from corruption.
The British government figure is that it increases the cost of doing business by 10%, and that either is paid by the customer or eats into profits.
But one thing I'd like to know more about is how does it work, this bribery, corruption-y business? Not that I'm going to be doing anything of it, of course.
How do you, as an individual employee, organise to pay a bribe to a foreign public official in another jurisdiction? And if you are engaged or committed to paying a bribe, how then do you generate the finances for that from the business model, from internally from the business? So often what we see is the use of third parties, in many cases of international bribery, and that could be an agent working in a foreign jurisdiction on your behalf who would then pay a bribe. So in some way you have to try and direct the finances, the funds, to that foreign agent to pay the bribes on your behalf, whether in cash or not. And often in those cases we see the use of corporate vehicles, offshore financial centres to try and conceal the movement of illicit finance.
Look, I gotta go, but I think I'm about to crack this case wide open. But once they've made their money, how do you stop people who practice corruption from enjoying their ill-gotten gains? I've always wanted to say that, ill-gotten gains.
So it's how we reshape cultures within business to ensure that the dominant narrative is one about ethical, socially responsible behaviour and not about ensuring their objectives are met through bribery or corruption or other forms of unethical behaviour.
The London Anti-Corruption Summit was interesting because many international treaties and conventions have failed in the past. They've gone to the sort of lowest common denominator route, and that's meant that they're not really as strong as they should be. The London Summit tried to bring together governments that really were serious about tackling corruption to try and set the bar in a new place, and broadly I think it's achieved that.
Right, it looks like investigators, proper ones, not me, are part of a global momentum to take down the bad guys. Now, if you'll excuse me, a new case has just come in.